Good morning, sir. How you doing? I think you slept well, right? Because you told me that you're an insomniac, but you said you had the cure for insomnia, which was the Bears Panthers. Did it work last night?
It worked. It worked like a charm, Big O. It
Okay.
worked like a charm.
All right. I figured that. You told me, man, my insomnia issues, they're going to be solved tonight. And I agreed with you on that one. I was watching it myself, and it was boring as hell, dude. God bless.
I haven't changed the channel for a Thursday night game all season until last night,
Man.
and even House Hunters was more entertaining than the football game.
I'm sure anything on television was more entertaining than you could watch a rerun of Seinfeld or Cheers for the 40th time, and I'd rather do that than watch what I
Yes,
saw last night. I mean,
of
that
course.
was, it wasn't even enticing to bet. Like I
Yeah.
just like no, I'm not that kind of degenerate. No. I don't have to bet.
Some of us are Big O. DJ Moore hit on the receptions. Cole Kmet hit on the receptions. Deontay Foreman hit on the rushing yards and a touchdown. Could have been a good night for some of you out there.
You were working the hard. Does Hard Rock have those kind of props?
I think it does. Yeah, I'm still on the wait list for Hard Rock though.
Oh,
So
you are? Oh, yeah, no,
yeah,
I've
I'm on the
got
wait
mine
list.
going. No, not me. Well, I had the account before, that's why. So when
Yeah,
I popped in, mine just popped up right there.
I didn't have it, so I'm on the wait list now. Been doing Price Picks and Underdog and having fun with that. Or I don't know how much fun you could say, but
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of Panthers tonight because Carolina's favored by a goal and a half. And that half, they always pull the goaltender, and sometimes you sneak in that backdoor goal and you kill it within one, or you can beat Carolina. So I kind of like the Panthers tonight as a dog, overall. So we'll see where I go with it. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
no. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Hockey and baseball betting. I haven't gotten into. Mostly basketball and football for me.
Okay.
Even soccer too. I wouldn't. To say who's going to score a goal or not, or who's going to score a goal in any sport. I'm like, I don't know. Total bases. Kind of weary on those.
Yeah, no, I feel you. One of the things I talked about this week, obviously bye week, there aren't a lot of topics, and there is no dysfunction. Which kudos to Chris Greer. He talked about that when he first took over, and once he got rid of Flo, the dysfunction was kind of gone already. And then there's a lot of synergy now in this organization, which is actually cool to see. So
Great
we don't
word.
have a lot of hot button topics, but one thing that I do want, and I want to see them more physical. And I'm talking about on offense, I want to see them more physical. And one of the things that I want you to do to add to this offense, because you have a level of finesse and speed that obviously dominates what you do. You have a player in Chase Claypool, and you have a tall receiver in Cedric Wilson. I know you don't use the tight end nearly as much because you don't have a dynamic playmaker, but you do have two big objects that you can use in a tight end type of form as a big receiver. And for me, it would also make Tua's life easier because it's an Oompa Loompa that throws to Oompa Loompas. And it was a beautiful thing watching the Oompa Loompas beat the Jolly Green Giants against the Chargers, because the Chargers have monstrous receivers and a monstrous quarterback, and the short quarterback and the short receivers won that game. But I'd like to see life for Tua a little easier and more physical, and find a way to get Claypool out there and use Cedric like you've been using him inside in the middle of the field. Your thoughts on that?
We spoke about this last week about Claypool. Last time about Claypool, and I
It's not just
mentioned.
a Claypool thing; it's a physical thing. It's
Yeah,
Claypool
yeah, yeah.
and Cedric.
Cool. Okay, so I when I was listening back to our segment about Claypool, specifically about getting him involved more, we spoke about that, and you want to see him, go do a fade route or catch something in the end zone, and that opportunity has not presented itself yet. And then I looked at Cedric Wilson, and you look at the opportunities that are presented him now, right? He's become a possession guy for you. You need a 3rd and 3. He can run an under route for you and get that. You need him to go to the sideline, make a play, or get a back shoulder touchdown in the end zone for you. He can do all that. What was Cedric Wilson doing all last year?
Nothing.
Just catching punts, right?
Yeah, because Trent Sherfield and obviously the other kid that's coming back now,
Cray
uh,
Cray.
Craycraft, they were healthy and they
Yeah.
knew the system and he was comfortable with, he didn't have time,
So
you
in
know.
the same light that you look at Wilson and Claypool, I look at them the same way. Like maybe it took Wilson a year to figure out his role or to figure out the offense, but he's a very featured part of it now, behind Waddle and behind Hill. And now Claypool's going to take some time to get into it. But I do agree with the fact that they are your biggest bodied receivers and that the Tua benefits from having a tight end overall. If you go back to Tua's freshman year when OJ Howard was still with Alabama, I mean he was cooking to the tight end a lot more than anybody else on that team, and that was the receivers were on that team too from Alabama as well. But the thing is, I don't understand how tight end is really primarily a blocking person here. It's your sixth blocker on offense, and you have you know the quarterback, the running back, and then barely three guys out there to pass. And most times it's 6, 7, 8 guys in the secondary. So would it be nice to have a little bit more tight end involvement and physicality? Yes.
They've targeted a couple guys. It's just they couldn't make the trade for the Raiders kid that ended
Hmm.
up getting shipped over to the Giants, and then
Darren Waller.
last year, this in the draft, from what I heard, they were interested in the Lions kid, Laporta.
Sam
And
Laporta.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's been phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah. He has been outstanding for them.
He's the rookie tight end of the year right now, and that's the guy the Dolphins wanted.
Yeah.
And once he was gone, then they went to Cam Smith because they went with another need that they had. So they have targeted specific people in the last year twice, and
Hmm.
they just haven't been able to land. So they are looking at somebody specifically, a type of player. And if they don't land that type of player, then they're going to get by with what they got and what they're experimenting with or whatever Tanner Connor is. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's kind of, and I'm sure that in this coming draft, there's probably somebody already or two guys that they're targeting and they will be part of. And if
Yeah.
they're in the right spot, they'll take it. But yeah, I would like the tight end more, but let's also, at least from what I've been, from the information that I've gathered, they've been targeting it. It's just they haven't been able to land the guy that they wanted.
Yeah, definitely. And if you said they were gonna, trade for Waller, I would think maybe somebody like TJ Hawkinson might be available this offseason. He's under contract around 17 mil or so, but
Tough
I would say
subject.
you look at everything. It's a tough sell maybe to pay a guy like that, but also the guy produces, he blocks and catches. And you look at what's going on with that Vikings franchise right now. Obviously Josh Dobbs saved the day last week, but they don't have a quarterback after the season. Kirk Cousins is not under contract. Maybe they resign him, maybe they don't, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with Justin Jefferson. If they're going to give him a mega contract
Oh, they
more than
have to.
Tyreek Hill, they
They
have to.
they have.
Or they're going to sell the boat for him, and at that point, you don't know where Hawkinson fits into the mix for them too. So,
You don't let
um,
you don't let go of those kind of players, man.
yeah, no, trust
Just
me, I know
you just don't.
you definitely don't.
If you're Minnesota,
You can't let Jefferson
it's
walk.
the same thing the Texans did with Laramie. They were in the middle of the rebuild, but they kept Laramie, and that was the smartest thing to do because, it's the whole Andrew Luck thing. Hey,
They
let's go
paid the
get a
most for
quarterback.
Laramie too, though. They paid a lot for Laramie, so they had to keep him.
But that's fine, dude. If you're going to draft
Yeah,
CJ Stroud, bro, protect his ass.
of
This,
course.
this is the reason why the Colts don't have a guy going into the Hall of Fame named Andrew Luck because
Hmm.
we're idiots and you didn't protect him. And he said, I got a brain, bro. I don't need this crap. I'm out of here, man.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
that's
You ended
that's
up
that.
drafting like an intelligent guy that had more than football in his brain, and you
Hmm.
lost, bro.
Yeah, and that's why Bryce Young is getting off so rough start too, because they drafted the quarterback before they drafted everything else that they kind of need, and that's why CJ Stroud is doing well because he's actually not being sacked as much.
Yeah, well, he's good too, bro. He's good. He's good.
He's good, and they
Uh,
have some pieces for sure.
yeah, they do have some pieces. The Nico Collins kid can play. Yeah, they have some pieces. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm with you there. There's no doubt about it. But I'm just hoping that they add a little bit more of a physical presence to the offense to complement all your
Yeah.
speed guys. Um,
Well, physicality is a mentality, and I think you hope that the Dolphins players put it on themselves to be a little bit more physical, right? And I think that's going to come with Tehran being a lot more comfortable in his body and himself, coming out of the bye and into the next half of the season. Tehran is obviously a really tough guy. We've seen him battle so many injuries already in his career and this season as well. There was a big block on that inside pitch that they tried to run on 3rd and 15 that Teron kind of missed, and he had the block on a play. They ran that play for A-Chain twice in the Broncos game, right? And it scored both times. So Armstead had the block on one of them, and just so little things like that. I think Armstead might have been, throwing him in their biggest game of the season after an injury. It sucks because he's not as warmed up or, seen as much game time and coming into it with a better, kind of envelope of games that he has to kind of see and go from. That him coming his first game back, playing that game was tough. And Big O, a lot of us didn't really talk about this, but the one thing that stuck out to me after rewatching the game a couple of times this week is the timeout. Mike McDaniel called timeout the play before the botch snap. And so, obviously, I'm not sure if he was asked. I'm looking at the transcripts and stuff, but, the Dolphins called timeout when they were ready, and there was a snap to a caught really well. And it seemed like they were ready to run the play, but it seemed like there was some miscommunication before the play call happened. And so after a timeout, they come out of a timeout and they almost turn the ball over on the last play of the game. Yeah. For me, as much as I would like to see physicality and other things kind of happen, this team needs reps calling plays from the sideline in the huddle to all the players more than anything with crowd noise. That's all they need. They need to get into the indoor, crank up the volume, and just run through their operation, because that's where they always mess up. They mess up in Buffalo, they messed up in Philly, and they messed up in Germany because it's too loud and you're kind of having some disconnect from communication and the players are not picking up on all of it. You know what I mean? Everybody has a role to play, all 11 when they run a play, and sometimes you're getting 9 or 10 guys, and sometimes you're getting a false start into the mix as well too, So for me, I would like to see the operation cleaned up, because that was the problem they had in the playoff game.
Right.
Mike didn't get in the play fast enough. Now it was just way too loud, and the communication is not great. And the reps that they've kind of accumulated since May, where they've gotten their offense, to score 70 against Denver and to look really good against these cupcake teams at home, you don't have to worry about the crowd noise. You can get everything in, but their operation, when it's louder, is just not as crisp as it needs to be.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And I was going to say on the physicality part, and I read Alf here, and I was going to say they have their moments where they're physical, because you can't lead the league in rushing and you're not physical. And Alf points out that they lead the league in QB hits. So, and he goes, physicality is a choice for them. And it's kind of odd that way, because they have their moments of physicality, and then they have their moments when they're not physical and being taken advantage of, by others. And it's almost like the problem has been that it's been against some of the elite teams in those kind of moments where it's kind of shown its ugly head. But they have a physical nature to them, but it's not something that's on all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of odd. It's kind of they're a weird team. It's a weird dynamic. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I asked you about adding because one thing they aren't physical at wide receiver, they're not physical. They're not a physical bunch. They're a fast bunch. And that's why the Claypool Cedric thing, since you're not really able to use Smythe much, because he is what he is, and Julian is still green as hell, and Tanner Connor still can't figure out anything. So you got to do something, and that's why I brought that up. But Alf is right. They have a level of physicality to them. It's just, it's not on all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of them wanting to turn it on or not. Look, this is a fast finesse bunch more than it is a physical bunch. When you think of the Eagles, you think about their physicality more than you think about, how well they do in other facets of the game, right? What's another team that's kind of just pointed out? Baltimore. You look at how Baltimore is physical.
That's what they are.
Exactly. It's an identity, right? The thing I spoke to somebody about in the Dolphins locker room about the tush push is an identity thing for the Eagles, right? They take pride in running that play and getting 3-4 yards on a 4th and 1, and nobody's going to stop them. And it's a mindset, right? The Dolphins' mindset is we're going to run you out the field. We're going to run you out the stadium. It's a great mindset to have, but you also have to have some physicality to make it happen where they
Yeah.
have it at times. It's some play calls that work for them and some that don't. I think when you look back at the Chiefs game, all the plays that kind of worked for the Dolphins are their bread and butter plays, right? Waddle in the middle, Tyreek in the middle, Mostert running outside the numbers. Whenever these guys get outside the numbers, they gain a lot of yards pretty quickly because it's hard for the linebackers and D linemen to catch up and get into the second level to make some tackles, things like that. But for everything that we do talk about and criticize the Dolphins for, 6-3, first in the AFC East. Mike McDaniel's second season as a coach, right? He's not even all the way done with his second season overall, here in Miami. So there's some things that are gonna maybe not hold them back, but they're not as mature enough for maybe, or haven't really earned and need to earn, like the physicality label, like the being able to beat a winning team label.
Decisions.
Decisions. Yeah, Mike,
Uh,
Mike makes some good decisions when they work out for him. 4th and 8 and you're scoring. I mean, that's a great decision. And also it doesn't work sometimes, or you call a bad timeout, or
or abandoning the run. He still abandons the run
yeah.
at the worst times. And one of the things, as good as he's done, that's why I kind of tripped some people out this week where I say he's still kind of underachieving because
I
there are
could say that,
games
yeah.
there are games that could be won and bad
Mhm.
decisions stopped you from possibly winning those games. And the
Yeah.
reason why I say that, because then I get some butthurt Dolphin fans. Brother, your window is
It's
small.
now.
We don't have time. We don't have 4 years for you to learn and figure it out. It's now, it's next year, and possibly maybe one more year, and then real cap hell will probably set in and you'll have to start moving stuff around. But you're going to have a couple more, but not much more. So you got to figure stuff out quickly because they've got to pay a bunch of people. Like when, we were talking about tight end. And do you go out in free agency? Well, you can't really because you have to pay so many people. You have to try to draft, which is what they were trying to do with Laporta last year. They just couldn't get him, but they got a draft because they have so many people that they have to pay. They just can't go out and be also players, in free agency. Look, Barry Jackson's writing an article about signing Andrew Van Ginkel and Rob Hunt, which, by the way, these are things that you got to think about right now. This is part of stuff that you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay Jalen Phillips. You're going to have to pay, Jalen Waddle. You're going to have to pay Tua. You're going to have
Javon
to
Holland.
pay Javon Holland. You got a lot of people. Connor Williams is going to want to get some money. You got
Yeah.
a lot of people that you got to pay. And so that's why this situation, we don't have time for a coach to take years to learn. Brother, you gave up on the run several times last year. Stop doing it this year.
Mm-hmm.
Learn. It's what I say every time now, the last week, what I've said. The quarterback learned. He learned how to get rid of the goddamn ball. He learned how to slide. He no longer plays stupid football anymore. He does not put his body at risk anymore. He learned. I need Mike McDaniel to do the same thing. Please learn, bro.
Yeah,
Please.
for sure. And maybe there's a lot on Mike's plate. There's a lot on Mike's plate. It's tough for him. I was having this conversation with my girlfriend about it, and Mike has a lot of things on his plate. And
Yeah,
you know,
head
every
coach and offensive coordinator is not easy for a young guy. I know. I
but
get it.
when you look at the head coach role, though, it's trying to speak German in a press conference. It's trying to win every room that he walks into. And I think that's probably one of Mike's issues is that he feels the need to win every room that he walks into, and sometimes he kind of doesn't have to. Mike is an introvert, and we've made him an extrovert because of the fact that he's in a front-facing role like this, right? So it's kind of difficult for him to kind of manage it all, and he's very surroundings and the awkwardness that comes from the fact that he's walking into a room and a bunch of people are there to listen to him speak. And then, for that, it's a little awkward for him. And then, after he's done with that, he kind of goes back to doing what he's doing. But all Mike has to do is worry about the football. All he has to do is worry about the football. You don't got to worry about, the camera, watching you walk in or running away from it. You don't have to worry about, any kind of viral moments that he kind of walks himself into sometimes. He doesn't do it on purpose. But I think the main thing, keep the main thing, as everybody likes to say, right? If he does what he has to do from a football and coaching standpoint and an operations standpoint, getting the play in and making sure all 11 are kind of humming at the same tune, which is very hard to do. Everything else kind of falls in line for the Dolphins. They have the higher expectations. They get the primetime games. you're gonna get a win over one of these teams with a winning record at some point. It's just it's all a matter of time before it happens. And the thing about the Dolphins too, they have a tough stretch before they get into the last 3 games of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Cowboys, Ravens, Bills, those are playoff games. Those are seeding games. Those are if you're going to be on the road or at home in the playoffs, or if you're even going to make the playoffs at all, that's what that means. You know what I mean? They need to hurry up and, come back, come beat the Raiders, come beat the Jets. I think they go to Washington as well too, and then they play the Jets again. But you got to stack up these wins when you can, and the Dolphins have done that. To be 6-3 before their bye is really great. And like you said, and you ask any Dolphins fan, would you want to be 6-3 and first in the AFC East, no matter what happens, or with some conduits and this and that? Yeah, you take it every time.
Yeah,
you take it every time. So they're in great shape, man. We're talking about a coach that can go upward and not a coach that lost it, right? We're talking about a team that can be more physical. We've seen them do it at times. Now to go show it a little bit more. We talked about a defense that didn't have a lot of holes, and now doing really great.
Skylar Timpton says, this is where I disagree with Safid. McDaniel has always been a goofy, funny guy. Watch him do press conferences. Back at the Niners, he literally explained it last press conference when asked. He's just being himself. He's joking, has nothing to do with his coaching ability. I don't think you're understanding what Safid is saying, Skylar. What he's saying is that he does that when he's more of an introvert, but because he's been thrusted into the spotlight, he kind of then becomes the Mr. Personality
a little bit, yeah.
Right, and that's what he's trying, and maybe he doesn't have like Spo. Spo doesn't really go into press conferences trying to win you over. He just says what he has to say, and then he moves on. He's not trying to be funny. He's not trying to be cute or anything like that. It's almost like McDaniel, while he's telling you that he's just trying to be himself, he is trying to win people over at the same time, because you can tell that the effort is being made there. So it's kind of like, you're right, and so is Safid, but I think you're not understanding what he's trying to.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, he's always kind of been who he is. Mike is always, he's unapologetically himself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I just think there's a thing where I'm like this too, where I can sense the awkwardness in a room or in a interaction or a conversation. If I'm standing in the middle of 3 people and something kind of goes down, like you're just kind of aware of your surroundings at all time. And Mike is very aware of the fact that when he walks into a press conference room and people are there to listen to him talk, he's just like, why is everybody here to listen to me talk? And now it's like, okay, well, this is awkward for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it, and your cameras and where these clips are going to go after it, but I'm just here to, answer my questions and try to go about my day. And if I can get a dry laugh out of somebody, sure, it'd be great too.
It'll be a correlation or a comparison that's a little old, but it's very Karen Carpenter. And obviously that's something you probably have no idea, but the Carpenters were a brother and sister duo.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever heard of them?
You saw that go over my head just now?
Yeah, I figured that. You ever heard the song "On Top of the World, Looking Down on Creation"?
Yes. Okay, so the Carpenters.
The Carpenters. They were very famous brother and sister act. And so Karen, who, by the way, is a trick question once in music here on the show, I asked everybody, who's the greatest singing drummer of all time? And people came up with Don Henley and Phil Collins and all that. And I threw everybody off and said Karen Carpenter, because obviously her voice was golden and she was the drummer. And so Karen was a very introvert. She was an introvert herself, but she's the singer of the band. Yeah. And so then her handlers and the people around her, the manager, the record company, all that, they begged her constantly, and they finally got her to stand in front of the band and not with the drums anymore, and let somebody else drum and you sing, because your voice and you're the lead singer. Because it was weird that it was a band back in those days. It was weird, and then the lead singer's drumming. You know what I mean? By the way, she's an amazing drummer too. On top of all that, if you ever want to check out the videos, but she, like McDaniel, then was thrusted to the front, and she did it, but she was always uncomfortable with it. No matter what you saw on the outside, no matter what you see on the outside of McDaniel, same thing, but inside, it's killing them. inside it's not really what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And so Karen Carpenter, like what you're saying with McDaniel, there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Mike focuses on that more than he does on football. That's wrong. That's
no.
nobody's. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that that would be a reason why they would lose. No, I think what I said is they need to work on their operation when they're in very loud environments, and I think that's one thing that's really held them back. When you look at kind of overlying issues of things, you can have injuries and players coming in and out. And that also in conjunction with the operation, those two things to me are the issues for the Dolphins offensively when they're on the road against these big teams.
Yeah.
And what do you do when the run is stopped in the first couple of plays? Just those things are the problems I think are the Dolphins need to work on for the second half, because they've done really well against teams that are not better than them. So that's a great start. And your defense has definitely excelled. You compete with the Eagles and you compete with the Chiefs. So your defense can hold down the last two Super Bowl appearances. So for me, you're on a really great track. Like, the Dolphins are doing really good. It's a really great time to be a Dolphins fan. I know the losses, the losses haven't been great, and it's kind of been, the anticipation for it and the letdown has been massive. But you're in really great shape, and I think there's a lot of things to look up on about. And so, you're hoping to see them put it all together.
I just told Cam this. This is the most complete Dolphins team, and now healthiest. It's about to be the healthiest and the most complete Dolphins team that you've covered and that fans have watched in, I don't know, it might be decades. That's how different what's going on.
Yeah, and look at,
we're only talking about tweaks. It's not a lack of talent. It's a lack of tweaking and playing better from within. You can accomplish what you haven't. You can play better against Buffalo and beat them. You could have won the Philly game. You could have won the KC game. You can do these things. It's not like you lack the talent or lack the intelligence or anything like that. It's about playing better in those key moments. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and the best part about it is the biggest issue you had coming into this season has not showed itself at all. Tua's the healthiest quarterback in the NFL, maybe. Hasn't showed up on injury report all year. Hasn't missed a practice. Hasn't missed a snap.
He learned.
He learned how to. It was always going to take Tua a process, to learn how to take care of his body at this level. And man, the things that he's done.
That's how Drew Brees played, bro. That's how Bob Greasy played. That's how Joe Montana plays. That's how Brady plays. That's how Peyton Manning plays.
Yeah.
They make a quick decision and get the hell out of the play.
I think one thing that the Dolphins have done that is different is Mike McDaniel said this, that Teddy Bridgewater brought it up to him. The quarterbacks don't ever get touched in practices, right? They don't have any contact all off season, and then they have to go play in a game, right? Where it's all the bullets are flying. And you've seen Anthony Richardson get hurt this year. You've seen a couple other guys fall right on their back and hit their head, just like Tua did, Brock Purdy has. Learning how to fall and making a conscious effort to, adjust your body and to kind of know that you're going to have to take on hits. Those reps that Tua did all off season, in addition, he did improve his game, is really why the Dolphins are doing so well this year, man. So hats off to Tua as well.
Yep. All right. Do they win this weekend?
We all win. Yeah, we all win this weekend.
Okay. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Safid_Deen and catch his work there at the USA Today. And of course, doing his thing here every week with our BaptistHealth.net/ortho Miami Dolphins report. Safid, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll catch up next week.
Enjoy, my friend. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. You got it. There you go. The great Safid Deen getting it done for us right here. And when we talk about Baptist Health, they are the official sports medicine provider for the Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, InterMiamiCF, FIU, FAU, Orange Bowl, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami Open Tennis, Miami Marathon, and half marathons. And the staff at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care is comprised of highly specialized board-certified and fellowship-trained orthopedic physicians, supported by advanced practice providers and athletic trainers, all of whom play a vital role in the patient's experience. And I should know, because I've been a patient several times. My wife has been she was just a patient last week. My daughter's been a patient. Our entire family has been to Baptist Health several times, and every single time it's an amazing experience. So make sure you use that QR code and visit the great people at Baptist Health. And please, if you're up in age, like I was, don't be stupid, because I was dumb. I was really, really stupid. I waited to have my colonoscopy till I was 56 years old. And I did it solely out of ignorance and shame. And I thought it was like an awkward thing to do and all that. And it was not even close to any of that. They do it in such a professional and respectful manner. And when you do it, you're like, why did I wait this long? And luckily, thank the Lord, it was perfect. I had nothing. It was great. They told me you don't have to come back for 5 years. Although I ain't going to wait 5 years. Just for that, I'm going to wait like 2 years or 3 and go back again just for the hell of it. I ain't waiting 5 years. Okay, so I'm telling you, if you've never had a colonoscopy and you're thinking the silly stuff that I did, that it's, weird and embarrassing and awkward, you'll sense none of that when it's all said and done. And you'll regret that you didn't do it earlier. That's going to be your biggest regret at the end. You're going to go, wow, man, I thought about all this uncomfortableness about a colonoscopy, this, that, and it was nothing. Anyway, and it was like that quick, man. It's really nothing. So use that QR code and reach out to the people at Baptist Health, and please look out.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.